Hello guys, in today's video I will start a new series of best gaming PCs on a budget based on the experience I had with my previous build after owning a Core i3-6100 and a GTX 1070 6GB version. These builds will be addressed to all out there who want to start building a new gaming PC or want to upgrade their current setup. I've chosen the best price to performance parts which will be affordable to anyone and even to those who are on a very limited budget. As long as you have patience, you will be able eventually to have um, an ultra gaming PC for 1080p and even 1440p in all the titles out there. Starting with the CPU, this is the Intel Pentium G4560, the Kaby Lake series, clocked at 3.5 GHz. I consider this the i3-6100 killer because it's basically i3 since it's a dual core with hyper-threading. But for the half of the price you get very similar performance with the i3-6100. This one also supports 2400 MHz RAM, which the i3-6100 didn't if you would have used it on a motherboard without the overclocking. So this at this point, this CPU is the best CPU for gaming for the money that you have to pay. Up next, you see the CPU cooler. I went with the Arctic Alpine 11 Plus. I would recommend you to use any other aftermarket cooler, even if you have an old one. Unfortunately, the stock coolers that come with the Intel CPUs are very loud, are noisy, and do not offer good temperatures. So this one would be a very nice upgrade in noise performance and also the temps. For the motherboard, you have two options. You can choose the cheaper H110N motherboard, in this case from MSI, or the cheapest H110N you can find where you live, but you will have to upgrade its BIOS at least to the version 3016, so 3016, because otherwise this motherboard will not support any Kaby Lake CPUs, only the Skylake ones. You can do this in the following way. If you have the option, the seller will upgrade the BIOS for you, but it will cost you usually around $10 or 10 euros or so. Or if you don't want to spend any extra money on the BIOS upgrade, you will have to install a Skylake CPU first, upgrade the BIOS, and then put the G4560 or any other Kaby Lake CPUs on this motherboard. which really at this point is very time consuming. That would mean to do the whole build, install the Windows operating system, install the drivers, and it really doesn't make any sense to me at this point when for around the same price you would spend with the BIOS update. You can get the B250M version of this motherboard, which supports out of the box the Kaby Lake CPUs, and also has support for 2400 MHz RAM, which the H110M doesn't. On this motherboard you will be able to use only 2133 MHz RAM. So I would recommend you at this point to buy a B250M motherboard, whichever is the cheapest in your region. For the RAM, again you have two choices, but at this point the 2400 MHz RAM is cheaper than the 2133 MHz one. So I advise you to buy the cheapest single stick of 8 gigabytes. In this case, the 2400 MHz RAM will offer you an improvement in performance to the G4560 than you would get with the 2133 MHz RAM. And it makes sense to buy it because it's, as I said, it's even cheaper, it's more affordable. If you can find this 2133 RAM at a very high discount, then feel free to buy that one. For the storage, I would definitely recommend everyone out there to use an SSD, even if this means at first to have a limited storage capacity. In all the games it will help you tremendously, and if you want more storage for photos, videos and such, you can add an a hard drive HDD after, but at first I would really advise you to get the Samsung 850 EVO, the 250 gigabytes version, which right now you can find it mostly on sales. The cheapest version would be to get the 750 EVO, 120 gigabytes, but in this case, if you will use it only as the storage for your games, if you will install the Windows on it, it will be a bit short on storage. So the prices will vary from 74 pounds to say a maximum of 85 or 90 pounds. The 850 EVO 250 gigabytes is the best choice regarding to the storage capacity. For the GPU, this should be the most important part of your PC. If you're building a gaming PC, you should spend the most on your video card. If you want to play all the 1080p and even in 1440p Ultra, all maxed out, so simply enter the game, don't worry about the video settings, set them to max, and want to play all the games out there, the GTX 1060 6GB version will offer you this. At this point, the cheapest one is the ASUS Dual version, the white one, um, and I advise you to choose ASUS or MSI. They have very good quality components in their GPUs, and from my past experience I would advise you to stay away from Gigabyte. It's the reality. All their GTX 1000 series, unfortunately, or most, the vast majority of them come with very disturbing fan noise because of the poor quality on the assembly line. So the GPUs work perfectly fine, but if you pay for a new product and end up with a fan that when it starts to spin it makes a grinding noise, it's really not that pleasant experience. So again, I would advise you to buy ASUS or MSI. At this point, the ASUS Dual GTX 1060 is the cheapest one. If you want to play only in 1080p, even the 3 gigabytes version will be very good, and you can find that at even lower prices. The power supply, the best one for the price, would be the EVGA 100W1. This is a 500 watts power supply. It's 80 plus certified efficient. It doesn't have flat cables, or it's not a modular power supply, but it's very good for its price point, and especially for the specifications. You see here it has 40 amps on the 12V rail, and it delivers 480 watts of power on that rail, which is way more than enough for the GTX 1060 6 gigabytes. Next, the case. Personally, I prefer the Zalman ones. Here you can choose whichever you want, whatever brand you like. It's really up to you, and it's really subjective. But if you want to not get into any compatibility problems with some future parts, the Zalman Z3 or the Z3 Plus version, which has a glass window panel here, would be the best choice. If not, if you want more compact system, the Zalman T4 ZM T4 mini case, is the best one. This case even fits 30 centimeters GPUs in length, but be aware it will not fit the tall GPUs from MSI's Gaming X series. So if you want to install a 140 millimeter or 14 centimeters in height GPU, it will not fit in this case. In that particular side, I would advise you to go for a middle tower like this one. But again, feel free to choose whichever case you want. Just don't overspend in it. Finally, the optical drive. Here, just buy the cheapest one, whichever you can find. If you do not boot your operating system from an USB flash drive. So, In the end, for the US residents, on the PC part picker site, I've placed all the components presented until now. Here I placed the RAM, the Crucial Ballistic Sports version, because I didn't find the one without any heatsink, but feel free to choose the cheapest RAM you can find, as long as it's a single stick of 8 GB without heatsink. You really do not need it. So the total cost for the US residents will be around $645 US, and for the UK and European Union ones, this should average at around 631 pounds. So this PC will allow you to play every single title out there in ultra. No compromises. Even the CPU bound titles will play extremely well with this PC in 1080p or 1440p. If you do not have all the money at first, I would strongly recommend you to buy all the parts you see it here without the video card, because this one is the most expensive part of your PC. You can buy all the parts and use the PC as it is without a video card, and have patience and wait and earn a few more months the money you will require to get the GPU. Try not to make compromises here. If you are playing only like games like Dota 2, Diablo 3, this type of games, you can go here as low as say a GTX 1050 Ti. With that GPU you will play those video games very good, but otherwise in the other titles it won't give you that 60 FPS minimum frame rate. That's why I would advise you to save up a few more months if you cannot afford all these parts at once. For Europe as well, you can see you can have a very strong base gaming PC for around say 380 pounds, and after that add another 250 and get this PC. Hope this video was helpful to you. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them, and I will try my best to answer to them. I wish you all the best. Goodbye.